Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. First and foremost, thank you for chiming in. I do need to apologize because I was due a video in a class last week. I did not come through. Totally dropped the ball. Absolutely own that. Bottom line, my daughter wasn't feeling too great and just the days got ahead of me, and when I tried to catch up, by then there was band rehearsals in another city and the whole nine. So with that said, I do apologize. We try to do these live contents that's public view at least about every 2 weeks or so. I think it's the first and third Tuesday of the month. So obviously before we get started, we have to do the disclaimer that says, remember this is recorded. That's more for the live stuff. But also don't consider anything we discuss on here legal, financial, or investing advice, right? Last but not least, I practice high risk, high reward trading. You can follow similar steps with safer, lower risk, lower reward trading styles. Just so you guys are very aware, publicly and of course privately, not all of the accounts that we work on are we trying to, do the compounding on. Obviously, we do want to increase our growth. Compound interest is, after all, the whatever wonder of the world. We get it. So of course we're compounding. But we don't have to always compound to such high percentages. So on your bigger portfolios, your bigger, investments, definitely go a little bit slower. Make sure you're a little bit more mindful with your risk. But this is not a bad way to be with the right math, no matter which side, the safe or the risky side you want to be on. So that is what we've got there. Without further ado, let's go ahead and go over to the chart and we'll go from there. Okay, so here we are on the chart. It's going to be a little messy. We're probably going to have to go up a time frame just to go to that much history. And we're going to go over some of the trades we looked at about 3 weeks ago. Of course, some of the things that happen to play out in our interest, a whole bunch. When I actually calculated our gains last week, which were 2-week gains, figure that, we averaged about 957 pips, 5 winners, 1 loser, and that's again after compensating for that loser. So last time we went live, which was on February 15th, February 16th candle, right? We were looking for the odd USD buy. Now, mind you, I'm still in a buy for this long term. I am looking for a little bit of a pullback first, obviously, waiting for the continuation on the bigger time frame. We've got plenty of room to kind of buy this up long term. With that said, we're just going off of the 1 hour time frame for the purposes of this call. So did that play out since we did that on the February 15th-ish? Let's go there to that candle. That's the 10th. I'm not going to do this every time either, guys. I say that all the time, and then I always do. So in around this candle, this is what we're looking for. We got over 270 pips out of this. Definitely not a bad way to be. Never came back and hit stop loss. Never made a lower low. Didn't even retest other areas. Great winning trade overall. NZD, and I'll take that off the watch list now. So NZD USD. Please note I'm on the 4 hour just so we can see the historical view. Yes, we were on the 1 hour when we looked, and of course that is on that live video. NZD USD buy, also 1 hour time frame. From that time, that was on the 15th. Let's see. 15th was, American time. Chart time is technically the 16th. So again, we had a ton of pips, 260 pips. Beautiful way this played out. Not any drawdown, not a whole bunch of foolery. Obviously, it's a different view on the 1 hour, but just so you can see all the pips we gained there. We also looked at GBP NZD. We were looking for that sell. So when I calculated this prior to all that nonsensory going on overseas, we of course didn't have as many pips, but since then it's just gotten completely crazy. So this is in and around where we were looking. This has moved a total of 1,200 pips. From the time that we would have went live, it's moved about 730. So not bad at all. Again, huge amount of pips. No real drawdown on that. Worked out perfectly. Great overall trade. The next one was NZD CAD. So we'll take that off of our watch list as well. NZD CAD, we were looking for that buy. Again, we got that. And that's all recorded. It's all live. That's public. So come here, take a look. That was recorded on the 16th. This is what it's done since then. 364 pips. Beautiful trade. No real problem. So there's no reason you should have been protecting after 1 ATR or 1 ADR. That is a great overall trade. So last but not least is our loser, or was our loser at the time. We were looking for that sell on USD CAD. We had been looking at it prior to that day as well. Still never got it, and even to this day never got it. So in total, I think I lost a total of 75 pips, but let's go take a look real quick together. Gotcha, the 16th, approximately this candle right here. This was our high, so even if you gave it room, you're still looking at anywhere from 70 to 100 pips of a loss. We peaked up, did not come down anywhere near profit without prior to first having peaked up. So obviously this was a loser out of the park, no doubt about it. So that was our last trade that we had looked at. Prior to going over some new possible trade entries, I do want to mention a couple of things. Remember, any of these reversal trades, because this is a counter trend trading system, this is by nature a reversal based system. What that means is, of course, you're going to have a decent probability, but you can also repaint. There's no way to know when the trend ends. And of course, we have a lot of stuff going on economically, fundamentally, not only in our nation, but around the world. So if you would decide to take any of these trades, let's use amazing risk management. Let's do the 1 to 3%, right, in terms of risk. Let's have a tighter stop loss. Let's make better decisions overall. Let's not over leverage per currency pair. So for example, even if we looked at 3 or 4 GBP pairs and 3 or 4 Euro pairs, please don't take them all. Don't be so deep in your account on all European pairs that now of course you're upside down because the market went crazy. It's okay if we can afford 1 or 2 losses, but there's no sense in giving our entire account away to Euro, right? That's just a silly way to be. So I'm going to go ahead and mark up this with the watch list. This way it's a little bit easier, and I'll be right back to show you what we're looking at for the next couple of weeks. All right, so prior to going over these that I just kind of marked up real quick, together with, well, not offline, I guess I should say, I want to start off by saying any of these trades that you're looking at or considering taking, please, please, please make sure you're protecting after 50 pips. And I'm saying 50 pips as kind of just a ground break number. I would much rather you use the smallest of the ADR. Okay, there's plenty of free indicators and there's plenty of free tools on MT4 that show you what that is. I would much rather you use the 1 hour ATR as your kind of protection level on any of these pairs we're going after, and just at least protect your pips. I mean, apply trailing stop, trim some of your profits, move stop loss in a profit, but take an action. In weeks like this, we don't know what's coming. So because it will be a few weeks until we talk again, I want to make sure that you guys are super protected. So super plain as day, super clear, at the 1 ATR, great time to protect or trim. 50 pips, great time to protect or trim. Okay, bare minimum, 1 ADR, you should definitely have scaled out, applied a trailing stop, use some form of management, or at least moved your stop loss into profit, no matter what. I get we might get knocked out, but I'd rather be safe and profitable than sorry and in a loss. So with that said, there are a ton, I should say, of potential setups going on this week. Obviously, we can't count them all, or this whole thing would be lit up with this kind of beautiful little aqua color. With that said, I'm going to try to stay true to the simplicity system for the purpose of this call. Yes, Euro USD is one of the pairs I'm tracking. Yes, GU is one of the pairs I'm tracking. With confirmation upon this system, by all means, I'm looking for the buy up. Yes, it's a counter trend trade. It is very risky in today's environment. But those are two that I at least wanted to mention for just verbal confirmation. Now, to actually get through some simplicity signals, here's what we're looking at. This is odd-CAD 1 hour time frame. Here's our sell signal, essentially at the break of this fractal. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to get my crosshairs. This candle right here in real time is a 3 o'clock candle on, what is that, March 9th, right, 2022. So at the break of your next fractal, you're simply taking this to your next levels of structure. That's already almost, 1.5 ATR. You're taking it to the next level of structure. That's all you're really doing. It's 121 pips. Very easy way to be. Really easy move to capitalize on, even if this is the reversal play. We've got the room to come down to where prices broke out before, and or to retest overall structure. So not a bad trade, reasonable risk to reward. That's one that I'm looking at now for simplicity. Euro CAD, I'm actually already in this. This has already made a substantial move up. So let's just first off address that. We've already broken a high. So definitely wait for the pullback. If you're not kind of wanting to do that, you can take it now, obviously. I would say your best bet is to pop down smaller time frames, wait for the pullback, and then take it up. Most of these pairs, particularly because of the worldly affairs, have some major gaps on them. No, gaps don't have to close. No, they're not present on every broker, but just mindful areas of a target for your take profit. So overall, you've got a good 280 pip, target, 290 in terms of the stop loss if it's all the way down there. So maybe wait for this pullback to come down and retest this area, confirm that this is actually going to buy up and go against the trend a little bit before you take it. Otherwise, you're taking it at the break of this fractal. That again is very, very late. So my advice on this one would definitely wait for the pullback. So I've got that written down just to be sure. After pullback. Okay, so that means after pullback and the break of that fractal, for an example. Same concept, you're protecting after 1 ATR. Bare minimum 1 ATR, you are definitely protected no matter what. So that's Euro CAD. Same thing, Euro JPY. Notice that the majority of these pairs are Euros and GBPs, guys. Those are the things that were most highly affected last week, meaning they could definitely be just as effective this coming week. So plan on that and trade accordingly. But this is Euro JPY. Again, you know what candle it is. At the break of that fractal, we're going to take it up to previous structure and then beyond. So from where price is currently at, the break of this fractal, that's a good 105 pips all the way up to kind of where this price had gapped is 356. Not a bad target, really reasonable target to kind of come through and hit. And this one actually is much more favorable risk to reward. Just kind of give you an idea. That was some room much more favorable. So there's Euro JPY, Euro NZD. Be very careful. The NZDs have moved a huge amount and have not retested at all. So there's a lot of room. But if we're thinking that, there's a lot of people thinking that. So again, here's our nice little engulfing, really impulse move up. Really slowing down to kind of perform this little channel we've got going here. So be very mindful of that. We could definitely still pull back. This is a big area to pull back into. If you're unsure, track this trade, wait for a pullback to retest any of these engulfing candles, and then take this trade up. Otherwise, even as is with where we sit right now at this very price point, you're still looking at a 380, you know, if you're giving it some room, 390, all the way up to about 690 pips. So again, favorable risk to reward overall. It's not a bad trade. How you enter and how you manage is what really is going to make the difference though. So keep that in mind. 1 hour ATR on this particular pair is 48 pips. You should definitely be protected in that, no matter what. You should have trimmed some out, protected stop loss, do what you got to do. I don't care which method you use, but pick one and actually stick to it. So GBP odd, same concept, guys. Beautiful, nice little W that's already been paid for. Again, we're starting to edge up. Do we know if it's going to come all the way up with everything going on around the world? We do not know that. We do not know at all. This is where price broke out before. So this is kind of going to be my major target on this pair. From where price is currently at, we're almost at the break of that fractal now. You've still got about 500 pips versus the 316 if you're going to have your stop loss all the way with plenty of room. Of course, same concept. You can wait for the pullback or you can take it to the break of that fractal. I don't mind this one whatsoever at the break of that fractal. GBP CAD, love this one. Now mind you, we broke down or come back up right to where price broke out before. So we could see a bit more of a pullback first. In this case, I would definitely be a little bit more hesitant, mostly because of all the stuff going on, even with the oil. We know the Canadian pair is massively affected, and that the fact that this is still at structure and has not made a higher high like Euro CAD has, might mean we want to be a little bit more mindful, at least at bare minimum. 1 hour ATR on this pair is actually much smaller than Euro NZD. I find that funny. Let's see, that's 43 pips away. That's already a whole bunch of pips away. So we've got our nice pullback. We've got our engulfing candle. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This is a 1 hour time frame. We retested where price broke out. Kind of beautiful setup. We continue on with this. By all means, you know where our targets are. You know exactly what we're looking for. So you're bringing it up all the way to the bottom of kind of this hot zone, as Uncle P would call it, right? Beautiful trade targets. Really simple to follow trade. Max of about 300 pips. I'd be definitely out of this within that 390, 370 area. I'm not looking for even that much if you want the whole truth. I'm going to let that little small portion be a runner. Otherwise, I'm going to get my first initial position and be really careful on how I trade these GBP pairs. So GBP CAD, and last but not least, GBP NZD. This is one that I'm tracking very hard. We've got some present gaps on a couple of different brokers as well, for those of y'all who consider that to be a factor. All the way up to here is 540 pips. That is a big target. Stop loss is very favorable on this, so even if you're going beyond structure, that is plenty of room. Mind you, we're in a downtrend. This is a simple wedge. We can definitely continue down. Sorry, I was off screen, but down further. So that's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 possible trades, and there's actually plenty more. I don't want to we know how easy it is to get into 20 trades. So I'm not going to do that to you and or to myself. Track these, trade these mindfully. You can't possibly be in all of them, so how can you do it? Let's say GBP-CAD is the one that takes off first. By all means, get your pips, get protected, and then wait for your entry on GN. Cool, now you've got your entry on GN. You can effectively manage all of these in this next 2 weeks period until we go live again. So please watch these, get a feel for how this works. This is not a complicated system. You don't have to know a lot to be decent at this system. No, it's not a perfect system, and yes, it can repaint. But in terms of backing off and just coming to the chart a couple of times a week, this is a great way to be. This is a really simple way to trade without a lot of stress. Notice the win ratio, and remember, those are all live. Those are all recorded live, can't change the dates, can't, manipulate the data in any sense or the way. We know how many of the naysayers and horrible marketers are in the market. So with that said, go look at the data for yourself. See what happens when you stop trading so much, stop micromanaging. Even with a system such as this, you can get really, really, really good results. So otherwise, obviously, we do a lot more high volume stuff in our morning classes, and that takes a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more learning, but still, trading is as easy as you make it. So that's all I've got for you this evening. I hope you guys all have an amazing, amazing evening. Please do like, comment, and share all that good stuff like I'm supposed to say to help the algorithm out. Take care, and God bless.